Let's be honest, you didn't start your business to buy yourself a job. So if you're looking on how to scale your business and eventually get it ready so that you can sell and exit with all the profits in your pockets, you have got to tune in. I will be interviewing industry experts who have scaled their businesses, sold successfully. So make sure you subscribe because you don't want to miss this show.
Excellent. I'm back here with Taunya Woods Richardson, the founder and CEO of Nail the Numbers, which is Canada's go-to, actually North America, because you serve US too, financial training agency on a mission to strengthen minds and bottom lines. And so if you missed episode 1 and 2, go back, check it out. I heard about Tanya's epiphany story and the journey of what happened to Powerhouse, her first company. Go listen to that, learn some lessons. You don't have to do it the hard way. Learn from each other, right? And episode 2, we got into some mindset stuff because there's a whole bunch of false beliefs up here, from entrepreneurs to beliefs in our family system and dynamics, and even into our genetics. We talk about epigenetics a little bit and touched on that, and Taunya gave us some really good tips on what we can do to break through the mindset. This episode, I want to talk about scaling business, because this is scale your business. And so for those founders, they've got their P&L statements, they're clear, they understand them, their finances are at least a bit organized now. Now we want to scale. So what is it that you guys do at Nail the Numbers to help companies scale to what they need to for their goals?
Yeah, so I just want to jump back for a second, because as you mentioned, you've got your P&L or your balance sheet or your financial statements in total, in full, and you understand them. And so few do, though. So few actually get that, right? So I just wanted to throw some love to everybody out there, because there's, probably in our experience, again, less than 5%, even those that are generating 20 million in revenue, right?
Right.
Yeah. So, and this has a big part of this has a lot to do with scaling, because scaling, you have to start with understanding how all of your numbers come together, right? Because your income statement feeds your balance sheet, that net profitability feeds your retained earnings. They all work. It's like a big puzzle where they all come together. So super important for people to know that. And again, with love, letting people know that most founders don't get how all of those numbers come together. So when it comes to scaling a business, again, it comes a little bit from, I'm going to tap into our last episode, because we work with a founder to understand, what do you need to build? So just not to scale for the sake of scaling, but if you're looking to scale and exit, what do you need to exit for? Right? So, and that's where the retirement shortfall comes into play. You know what? I need this amount of money for retirement. So I know some of the younger entrepreneurs out there, but I don't really care about retirement right now, right? But
they should.
They should, absolutely, because compound interest, the sooner we start, right, the sooner you'll be able to make that number up. But so it really starts, we call it budgeting backwards and bottoms up. So when we scale, it's about understanding, what do you need to build? And we always use this analogy of building a home, right? We would never start to build a home, go dig a hole without knowing exactly what we were building. What is the square footage, 1 story, 2 stories, right? But this is what we do as business owners. We go out there, we start building a business. So we go and we dig that hole. And unfortunately, we dig the wrong way. So back to the scaling piece, knowing what you want to build. So that is about understanding, what do you want your net profit to be? What does it need to be? Because that valuation is going to be based on, in large part, what your net profitability looks like. And so once we understand what that number is, then we can start moving up. And when we talk about moving up, we then look at all of your indirect costs, which also include budgeting for all the real expenses. What is the fair market value of a general manager for that business? Right? Like putting all of that in there, because that's the first thing evaluator is going to do, right? Does this account for fair market wages for a team? No. Well, we're going to add those numbers in, and then boop, 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 the net profit starts to diminish. So we work then bottom up. We do all of our indirect costs. We assign our revenue streams. So what are the core revenue streams that really make this business thrive, right? Not the 562 that we're like, oh, we do everything. It's like, what are your right? Because this is what a lot of founders do. So what are the top ones that generate over 80% of revenue? And then what we do is we dial in on what are the direct costs per revenue stream.
Yes. Thank
Right?
you.
Yes, because we call it the
Unit
Bermuda
level
Triangle.
economics.
Yeah, Bermuda Triangle of budgets. This is where every single business owner is losing their profitability. It's in not identifying the revenue stream, the direct cost per revenue stream, including labor, and then setting the price. Right. So then we set the price, and you can see that's our backwards and bottoms up. It actually tells you what you need to be selling and how many units to ensure you have the right amount of money that will take care of your direct costs, your indirect costs, get left with the profitability. And then we can reverse engineer that plan into a 3-year strategy that will get you from where you are right now to where you need to be. That's how we scale. That it's showing us exactly what we need to do and when to make sure that we still stick that profitability at the end.
When I think that, like, I did a keynote on scaling businesses, and we talk about people, process, and profit, those 3 things. And you need all 3 of them to scale your business, right?
Yes.
Because if the process and people are broken and you throw a bunch of revenue through it, you're going to amplify problems, not profit, right?
Yes, Pete. Yes.
And so, but when I did this keynote talk, I said, how many people are thinking about selling their business? Like, all of them are entrepreneurs. How many of them sell? 3%. Put their hand up. I was like, guys, you have to think with the end in mind.
Yeah.
I was like, I made this mistake. I fell in love with my business. I loved it. I was like, high school love, like carve your name into a tree love with my business. And I did some stupid things.
Right. And I think, you know what, you're so right. Yeah. And there's so many, I am going to stereotype here. It's just been my 30 years of being on this circuit. There's a lot of women, unfortunately, that they don't even think they have something they can sell. Right. Again, this small mentality. It's like, oh, you know what? I have a bookkeeping practice. I have nothing to sell. I just, and so we've got to break that barrier down, right? That stigma's got to go as well. Like every single business out there can be sold. And actually I have a friend, Allison Anderson. She has a business called Succession Matching, where she matches up business buyers with business sellers.
Amazing.
And she said, yeah, for every 20 buyers, there's only one business that's actually ready, because they don't see themselves as a business that is sellable. Right. So
and if you want to maximize that, like, so profit's great, and you're running a business and you have to have profit to, like we said, to have your impact, you have to have profit. And so, but like, one of the things that people, we believe, and I don't know why we believe this, we believe we're invincible. Right?
Sorry, we're what? I didn't catch that. We believe
invincible.
Invincible, yes.
Right?
Yeah.
It's like, you are exiting your business at some point, whether you want to or not. Right?
Great point. Yeah.
Like, and it is, you don't want to do it when it's scary. You don't want to do it when you're in a place of fear, or now it's your spouse's problem.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And so get real, guys. You are going to exit your business. So you can exit it with a plan that's going to maximize the life of your family, your friends, those around you, your impact, your passions, whatever it is. Or you can, like you said, think small and just have it dissolve. And I think that people need to start with the end in mind. And it's okay to think big. Like, that's okay to think big. Permission to dream. Know what you need. And then know what it is you're going for, right?
Yes. And Kate, sorry, that brings up a great point about just, we're giving them that direction around, it's okay to think big, but, and not but, because I don't want to negate that. But for the founder that's saying, oh, how do I do that? Maybe sit in the question around, why am I not giving myself permission to think big?
Right?
Where is that coming from? Because as we talked about in the last one, if you start becoming aware of these beliefs and these thoughts that are actually holding you back, that's when they are not subconscious anymore. That's when you can start to tell yourself, I deserve to think big. I am big, right? Like I am powerful. So, but you first need to catch it. first need to catch it for sure.
Right. And the way I look at my business, and maybe this is wrong, you can tell me, go ahead. Like I'm learning from you and I love it, is like I have planned my investments in my retirement that for as long as I can make a certain wage. And if I do that in my business, great. If I do that because my business doesn't make it and I got to get a job, fine. Like that's not going to be an option, but I've planned for my retirement, my family, and my longevity to be okay. Now, I have a dream to then build Enta Solutions and Enta Productions and have those companies go big for a big impact. And so that when they sell, that's going to be gravy in my family plan. I'm not banking on that. That'll be the extra, but I'm building it to sell it one day or to exit it one day or to hand it down to the next succession of leaders in the company. Like I know I'm exiting and I'm building it so that it's not going away. That's what I'm saying. Right.
Yeah.
And so that exit plan in my family strategy is gravy.
Okay.
And I do that because it's like, I can get it valuated, right? And I can sell it. But I'm going to grow it big, and I don't want it to ever be like I feel handcuffed to have to sell it or have to in order to live the life that I want to live. If I want to keep it going, like I can. So like that's I don't know. That's my plan. What do you think?
Well, I think you bring up two really good points there. One is that you're building in options for yourself, right? And so a lot of founders won't. I will hear the language of I don't want to sell. Right. Or worse yet, this is probably going to get us down another tangent here, but I'm going to pass it on to family. Right. Or, I'm going to run it through succession and legacy there. So what you're talking about is that you're talking about building in options for yourself. So at the time, right, whatever that's going to be, 3-5 years, you have options. You can maintain it, right, and continue on, or you can actually sell a part of it or sell whole of it and then get that gravy in for your family, as you talked about. One thing, again, I think it's really important is really understanding, again, the why you're doing something. So even very much like you, when I'm out there and I'm asking these questions, there's only been 2 entrepreneurs that have been able to clarify for me what it is that they're building. And one of them was Skip the Dishes. And Skip the Dishes knew this was at the very beginning. They were at their first $45,000 to buy like 20 more tablets to expand, right? They knew they were getting out in 5 years or less. And they knew exactly how much money they wanted out of it because they knew what the next chapter was going to bring.
Yes.
They knew what they were doing. If you don't know your why, it becomes really hard to get motivated about a specific goal. So it's like you've got to plan past it, right? So what is that gravy going to do, right?
Yes.
And for me, it's about really understanding, and maybe we'll get into this later, so I don't want to blow it, but it's about what comes after the sell, because that's what gets me excited about the sell, right? It's like, here's why I'm doing it.
Yes, I absolutely love that. And I think too, a lot of founders, we're going to touch on that generational thing because it's such a problem. We see it is we're going to hand it to the next generation.
Yes.
Well, your children are not you. And unless they want it to have the desire to run a company or be an entrepreneurial mind, or like if there's not the desire and the passion or the skill set, right? And that's a lot of ifs, and they got to want it. You have to ask them that. Like you might be leaving them a burden.
Yeah.
Right. And so like you really have to unpack that and have some difficult conversations as family members. Do they want it? Are they the right person? If they don't have the skill set, how are they going to get it? And like, what does that handoff look like? Right. Because they're not going to walk in with a huge bunch of capital perhaps and like pay you out for it. So how does that retirement look?
That's just it, Kate. That's just it. I think a lot of founders, they start thinking about these questions, right? The people questions, the soft questions around, the skills, but the business is a separate entity. It has its own value, right? And there is a price to passing this off to family. The family, and this is what we're seeing in the ag sector, is the asset of the land has gone up so much, family can't afford to buy into the business. You know, it's anywhere from a 5 to 7 year succession strategy to actually be able to get this passed off. So the sooner you know what it is that you're doing, i.e. scaling to sell, the sooner you can bring in the necessary parties and start to transfer over ownership, sweat equity, right? Whatever that's going to look like. But leaving it up to the very end doesn't work. People can't afford to buy in to the business.
Right?
Yeah.
And it leaves people strapped and with bad feelings on both sides.
Yeah.
And so generational succession planning within a business is its own animal, and it really does take a strategy around it. But we're going to get into that because I know we're at the top of our 15 minutes here. So people want to know their numbers, nail their numbers, get through the mindsets, that the false beliefs that they have. How do they get a hold of you, Taunya?
Nailthenumbers.com. Nailthenumbers.com. Yeah, or check me out on LinkedIn.
Amazing. All right. Next episode, we're going to talk about what happens after and get into it. So thank you so much. We'll see you in the next episode.
All right, Kate.
Before you go back to the grind and back to the whirlwind of your business, make sure you subscribe and like so that you can catch the next episode where we're going to interview leaders so you can learn how to scale your business.